Well, we're deep into the dungeon now, which means that everybody loses roughly 50 IQ points. So prepare yourself for that for this episode. I think that we're actually going to keep a count of how many times these characters are, 1, surprised that a door opened, or 2, wondering if we should press a switch. So keep that in mind for over the course of this half hour.
Yeah, well, we'll try to keep a count of that. We might screw it up, but, we're going to trust you, the viewers, to correct us if we get something wrong.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that anybody left watching this even has the energy to make a comment at this point.
I mean, I think they're listening to it in the background. I don't...
They should. That's the ideal way to play this, right?
This is a podcast, yeah, so...
I mean, it's much in the same way that Persona 5 is a radio play and has no visual components to it, or at least that's how it's written.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is more or less a podcast, and that's how you should be approaching it. We just need to get that sick... Audible sponsorship, and we'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Use codename Doc Second Guy for your free trial.
Is Doc and Marty copyrighted?
Probably not. But I don't know. I have always been consistent in referring to you as Second Guy.
No, yeah, that's true. Especially for this series. So.
I mean, I think it's only too appropriate. Also, quicksand is usually not, like, literally a liquid. I mean, I've seen some pretty fanciful depictions of quicksand in my time, especially vis-a-vis video games, but come on. Yeah, no shit, Morgana.
Yeah.
This is some real Bush League psychoanalysis right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it was, just basically it's pretty warmed over Evangelion.
I mean, not even, there's so many examples of this in fiction. I don't even know if I would point out that one in particular.
Yeah. I guess I'm only thinking of it because it's, Japanese and stuff, and the people have definitely played Evangelion and learned nothing from it.
I never seen it.
Oh, that's fair.
I know that there are robots, and I know that there's angels that they gotta fight with those robots. It sounds like a rollicking good time.
It's quite fun, yes. By the way, I'm pretty sure this... I was only reading the transcript, but now that I'm seeing this definitely...
Yes?
Pyramid from Mario 64.
Okay, yeah, that's actually what I was gonna say too. You cut out there for a second, and I was wondering if it was gonna be... Were you gonna come back and say Pyramid from Mario 64? Because yeah.
Yeah, very much. Even just the way that you're interacting with the surfaces feels very much like it.
I mean, I think it's like the sand falls that are happening here, right?
It's that. It's also kind of the fencing and stuff on the outside.
Oh yeah, true.
Just the way the surfaces look. The fact that you're just kind of climbing up the outside walls.
Platforming focused, which I mean, I guess is kind of. You fell down a pit, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, still got like the whole cyber temple theme, which I really like. I would have liked to see more stuff with the like the voxel jar type of thing appearing in other places in this dungeon.
Wait, are we?
It is for the most part.
Are we counting this as one of the does it like that?
Door
right
didn't open. They need to be surprised that a door opened,
okay.
Or they need to have some sort of commentary about the fact that a door opened right after we saw that a door opened.
By the way, that was great stealth, where you just went into this clear line of sight of the dog. But yeah, okay. So
hey, Vivi, as long as you're fast, it doesn't matter. Look, this is a turn-based RPG. I'm gonna forgive him for a little bit of janky stealth mechanics, with the exception of the one in the last episode where we were going after the thief.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, like showing an exit, that's fine. You're saying this is literally being surprised by a door opening. I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Door opening and then asking if you want to press a switch, having a dedicated cutscene to asking if you want to press a switch. I mean, this is the thing that I've talked about in the third dungeon, where it's like Persona is just obsessed with having dedicated cutscenes for every single interactable object or like new set piece introduced or anything.
So what's the other thing that we're counting? What else are we counting?
Oh, just those two.
Oh, okay.
We can probably get more granular with it, but I don't really think that's entirely necessary.
Okay, yeah. We can argue if we find something that's on the borderline, but
And I don't think there's going to be any borderline examples. I think they're all going to be very obvious.
But this game has so much subtlety.
Oh boy, like even the slightest bit of subtlety would go such a long way here. just the assumption that your audience isn't as brain dead as the characters themselves. Yeah,
one.
One. That's definitely a good. Also complaining about being hot again. It's like, we get it, dude.
You're in a desert.
I mean, you're in a mind desert, but still. Anyway, let's go back and fight that quote-unquote tough shadow. Oh boy. This is like the whole endless scene thing was something that I remember people complaining about a lot with the Mario RPGs. I think that's where, man, they really feel the need to have characters comment on everything that happens, which was especially bad in the last Alpha Dream one, the Mario and Luigi Dream Team. And it's just weird that I don't really hear that nearly as much for Persona 5. I guess maybe people didn't get to this point, and they were just kind of like, it seems okay from the start here. And maybe like myself, they just assumed it probably gets a lot less tutorial focused as you get into it a bit.
Yeah.
Play the first few hours and then leave it at that.
Yeah. Like, this would have been fine for, like, maybe the first dungeon, maybe the first half of the first dungeon, and, like, when you're in the middle of a, like when you're in the middle of a boss battle kind of thing. Like, okay, go through the mechanics. As you add things, it's fine to tell instead of show sometimes if you're legitimately doing it. But after the first
I got no idea how they decide how they made the decision that they wanted to just have. By the way, Anne is a rat. I do want to point that out.
Okay,
that's an important. I mean, between this and NetHack, we're sure getting a lot of rat transmogrification content on the channel. Also, there's that thing that I got from Madarame's pals, which I never actually showed off, which was it blocks one hit, which is nice.
Nice.
It's actually like a quite good, although very, very mana intensive. In general, all the trinkets that you get from doing each one of the dungeons are pretty powered.
God, I just love how like the random enemies are just like so weird. Like that's totally like a monster you'd spend like 10 minutes establishing in D&D.
Oh, these are again these are classic classic Mega 10 monsters. Mott has appeared in a lot of SMT games. I think most notably back in SMT3 Nocturne, he was known as a very, very annoying boss to fight due to his ability to give himself more turns. Which is a thing. I mean, it's the press turn system was a lot more. I mean, it wasn't just weaknesses back in the day. You could actually like do some stuff to give yourself half turns and stuff like that, which couldn't turn into full turns if you got a weakness or whatever, but did give you extra actions in a single turn. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Would have liked to seen that come back for this series, but I guess they decided maybe it was a little bit too something. I mean, certainly it was something that enemies use more often than...
Yeah, that seems like that'd be frustrating if enemies use it, and it feels like something where if you give it to your characters, you can't have to give it to the enemies, so...
Well, I mean, it's like you didn't really give it to your characters. I remember back in Digital Devil Saga 2, you had like one consumable item that you could only hold one of at a time that gave you 4 extra turns, and then enemies just got like a move that they could spam to do that. Now again, like half turns don't turn, like it basically splits the amount of turns you have into half turns, and half turns cannot turn into full turns if you get weaknesses. That's the difference, but you still can like set up huge buffs or heals or whatever, and that was generally the way you wanted to play that. Here it's just weaknesses or technicals or whatever gives you extra turn. That's it.
Okay.
Simple as that. And of course, any really meaningful battle doesn't really have you getting weaknesses anyway, so you gotta kind of either hope on technicals if that's even possible, or criticals. Hey, there's one of those things.
I'm confused because we see a lot more like I was reading the transcript and it seemed like there was a lot more exposition. Maybe we just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Oh, well, don't worry. The exposition that's here is bad.
Okay, fair enough.
For example, like that's not even like helpful what you said there. You just told me exactly what was happening. Also, boy, I remember I was wondering if is there a way to interact with this, and it's like, no, it's just going to tell you what it is again.
That's funny because like that would actually be useful information. Like,
like, hey, there's a control panel on the wall or something, or maybe just say there's no way to control it from here, instead of being like, this is what it is.
Yeah, it's light. Off of another light.
Well, anyway, there was a very similar sort of I don't know if I would even call I would say set of puzzles in Darksiders that I played. I guess not too recently, but reasonably recently. It's like just the gulf of difference between there and here is pretty wacky. It's a shining light onto a thing. Anyway, there's number 1 for there's first count for entire cutscene dedicated to press a button, yes, no. Now, you might think that was very apparent what happened there, but let's get some exposition on it.
So it was a trap. I'm not so sure about that.
It changed something in here. Like,
it is
shut
a markedly obvious difference. Yeah.
Let's go take a closer look.
This is one of those things where it could actually be a clever, well-done puzzle, but they just insist on beating you to death with like that. Just
okay, number 2 for door open.
Okay.
Oh boy. Like, I don't know. It would be a bigger twist if you couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that would be like a witness puzzle where, oh, actually, now you have to use the negative light to... Now
the reverse light.
Yeah.
You gotta get the beam of black light.
You gotta get the beam
going.
of black light against the white light, and you have to be... It has to be pointed away from the door.
And the matter and antimatter combine to explode and blow open the door.
In fairness,
oh, okay.
Yeah, in fairness, that they would walk you through that like puzzle without any exposition, completely wordlessly, and you'd eventually get it, which is.
Oh boy, if we're gonna compare this game to The Witness, it's like, oh my god. The king of unfair comparisons.
Well, you know, it's somehow. It's just as pretentious as The Witness. It's just.
But it's so much stupider.
The results just aren't there, though.
Like, I don't even, like, pretend, I don't, I don't even know if I would call it pretension. I guess that you could call what the characters are is being pretentious, but I don't even, like, it's hard to parse why exactly they thought this was a good idea.
Yeah.
So many things, so many decisions in this game are very bad.
Also, I just like that, you know, Ryuji sees this. I mean, I'm not. You don't have to know what it is, but some kind of dog thing, like.
Again, it's Persona 5 is a radio play. They don't expect you to be able to see things.
Yeah. It's like,
it's games for the blind.
It's clearly some kind of, well, okay, in that case, it would be more accessible than The Witness. Maybe this is colorblind friendly, which would make it 100 times better than The Witness for colorblind people.
I guess.
Wow, you can actually finish this. It doesn't matter that I've got red-green colorblindness. I can actually finish this game. I guess this is better than The Witness. Sorry, Jonathan Blow.
Was that game really bad about that? I don't even remember if there were a whole lot of...
You probably would have trouble. You'd probably have to look it up.
Because I remember the colors being pretty vibrant, but then again, I don't really know exactly what how colorblindness do. So.
Yeah. It was the whole thing with the greenhouse would have been really tricky.
It certainly feels like something that Jonathan Blow would have thought about.
Yeah.
No, that's not opening door.
Mm-hmm.
That is just pointing outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Darksiders, which is a big dumb comic book of a game. You just would flip this thing around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you would do it manually because War is a monster, but still.
Mm-hmm.
He would take this light beam and manually switch it around, but
Yeah.
still, it's like you wouldn't need. Anyway,
Are we counting this? Does this count like where you maybe we should
No.
put this? Okay.
I said it's obvious when it happens, and I can't back down from that now. I said it with
That's
such
true.
confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Tell me more, Morgana.
Hey, weren't there 2 of those gem holding dog things?
Oh. Like this game is. This is what I was talking about, where it's like, I can't do transcriptions. Okay, that's 3.
Mhm.
And yeah, that is definitely surprised that the door opened. So there we go.
There's
So
still
yeah, I
surprised
can't
at
do
the
more
concept
transcriptions for
that the-
dungeons.
I
can't
I
do
can
it.
understand being surprised the first time light opens the door. I can even understand saying it, even though it's a visual medium. I can understand that. What I can't understand is doing that twice in the same palace that is a mystical thing.
4.
Like, wow, this thing obeys the logic.
So yeah. What are we at right now? We're at 1 dedicated cutscene to switch pressing and 4 dedicated cutscene to saying that a door opened.
Mhm.
All right. I mean, plenty more dungeon to go. This isn't even like the half of it.
Wow. Jeez.
We've already seen a lot of shadows.
Mhm.
And don't want to call out better games, by the way. Just point that out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's probably not even intentional, but still.
Yeah, this game is a lot of bad craftsmanship.
Okay.
Follow me. Just-
Ah.
Okay.
It's like, I know. Anyway, let's kill the tension by having a cutscene. Whoa, that got surprising for a second.
Yeah, let's manage.
Everybody,
these
let's
expectations.
sit back and assess the situation and do another cutscene for that. Even
Also
though,
solve the puzzle that you're establishing. Like, you created a problem, and instead of trusting, the players to figure it out, maybe even give them a hint. You just tell them exactly what to do.
as brain dead as the characters, it's like it would take 1 second. It wouldn't. I usually like saying 5 seconds. It would take 1 second. See, and then there, it's like, oh well, you don't want to have a cutscene for that one. Yeah, it's like usually it takes 5 seconds to do something. It'll take 1 second to just look around the area and notice a button prompt. It's absurd. It's absurd how little the developers of Persona 5 think of their audience.
Yeah.
I don't. That was something that we were talking about last time, where I was like legitimately wondering. It's like, do you think that if one of the writers saw this, that they would just be like, "Oh man, yeah, they gave me like $50 to pound this thing out in a weekend. What you're doing does not deserve the sort of effort you're putting into it." With this
I'm
game."
sure they'd say exactly that. Honestly.
Like, look, man, it was just a job. They didn't even really know exactly what they wanted to do. They just said, make it 100 hours. After I submitted it, they didn't even ask me to come back for like a second draft. It's like you don't need to put this much effort into it.
I think that's exactly what they'd say. But the thing is, I wonder, because I want to be clear. I think it's the production choices associated with the writing rather than the writing itself. The writing doesn't seem like, you know what I mean? Like the mechanically, the writing makes sense. It's not completely stupid. It's just that it's like, it's too obvious what they're doing. It's just like, okay, here's some arrows going across there. Like, yeah, we can see that. Like, it's a visual medium.
Anyway, I just put back the thing. There is number 2 dedicated cutscene to pressing a button.
Okay, so 2 and 4.
You can see how impatient that I was starting to get with these cutscenes right there. And then just to save us some time, I was cutting around there because it's like, I think at this point I was actually like planning to like end the episode there, but then I realized that it's like, oh, it is only 20 minutes long. After I cut out all the battles. I still think that that's a good decision. I've been doing that a lot with the Final Fantasy VI playthrough. It's like, yeah. But it almost feels hypocritical to be like, I'm going to cut out repetitive content, but leave in all of the dialogue.
Well,
but it's like, how can I choose? How can you choose what dialogue is important and what isn't? I mean, I guess I did kind of do that with like the whole Japanese versus English thing, but it's still included in here.
Well, we all make choices, and I think you made a good choice, and one that just makes things infuriating for you.
I want it to be true to the game. Look, I don't get like the ability to edit down games that I don't like. I can't. That's not that I can't. It's just that it's like it. What do you like? This is not the Snyder cut of LPs. So I don't know. Maybe that's a bad decision on my part, but I want to say if I actually do try to do some sort of real translation, people are going to appreciate that.
Well, to be fair, I think if you start questioning yourself, then you're doing disservice to this game because they never question themselves.
They sure don't. That is true. Where it's just like I am fighting a battle against an opponent without integrity. Yet I'm trying to have a sense of decorum myself. Is that my downfall or is that my strength?
Sir, do you have no decency at long last?
4. Is that a switch? Should we press? It's a unique cutscene every time, too. Which is baffling that it's... Why are they... Why? And why wouldn't you put that effort anywhere else? Because there was very little effort put into it.
I was just thinking that, again, like, there are all sorts of, like, game design choices that they're making here. Like, and one thing that they could have done is... doing that, you can do that just in real time. Just have it, like, it's not going to interrupt anything.
I missed this one.
Do that, like, right in front of you. You know what I mean? You can press the switch, and then behind you, the light changes valences, like, or changes directions. That's a cool little mechanic. It's like the camera might zoom out to show you that, but it's not changing. And fundamentally, you could start running towards the door. Like, that always increases immersion. Like, you only do cutscenes if you have to. They're not something you like want to do.
That was something. By the way, yeah, I do keep running Joker into the arrows because I like that animation. But that was something that we were talking about before we started up the episode, where it's like they do have a system in place to have just dialogue overlaid on the screen, where a character will give a voice acting line, their portrait and whatever they're saying will appear in the upper right corner, and it doesn't interrupt gameplay at all. It just appears there. It's something that appears super commonly in mementos or like during fights, for example. And for some reason, they decided to have like a traditional cutscene for everything that we're doing here.
Would we count this one? No, this doesn't count, but still, like, okay.
Nah, Anubis statue is going to be obviously very particular to this dungeon, but surprise that door opening is universal. Remember, like, the character struggling to figure out how a key card works in the previous dungeon?
Yeah.
And that was the other thing we were talking about before this episode, where this would make sense if this was literally your first exposure to video games.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, and Ryuji's dialogue, it's just so baffling. Just like right there, like, it just ain't fair. Like, what ain't fair?
This is like, I don't.
It ain't fair making you solve a pretty straightforward puzzle.
5.
The thing is, like, this isn't even like these aren't horrible. This isn't like the worst puzzle system I've ever seen. Like,
It's a
not, like,
big button.
but just calling it out every time there's a button is so dumb.
Every time. What other video game has a dedicated cutscene for a button?
Yeah.
I can't even think of anything. Like maybe and you know, by the way, none of these are traps. None of these are any reason that you wouldn't want to press these buttons. And I've played through this dungeon. They don't have any reason that you would ever not want to press the button. I guess no, because at worst nothing happens.
I mean, so we're up to I think 5 for the buttons and then 4 for the doors. Like 4 times.
Is it only 4 for the doors? I thought we were at 5.
Oh, okay. Well, it's 5 and 5.
No,
and
I think you're right. I think it is 4.
Yeah, it's weird because the buttons like they're surging. Like I didn't think that they would be more than the the doors based on.
Yeah, and also like the thing with the will seeds is it's kind of weird that we don't get cutscenes for that. They actually do use the character's portrait appears in the upper right corner and it does not stop gameplay for this. Yeah, see right there. See how Ryuji said something? He said, "Hey, we got an Ishii." It's like there you go. That why don't we do that for
this whole dungeon?
Everything else.
Yeah, and it certainly looks like more natural. It feels more natural. You're watching it. You don't change camera angles, so you're kind of like
like this sort of thing. Fine. I didn't actually know what this was. There we go.
Yeah.
It's okay. So it's a big TV screen. There. Wow. That's the good usage of that.
Yeah.
It's like that's not. It's not. I mean, this sort of dialogue. I guess if you didn't realize it was a control panel, sure.
I guess, but if you're just gonna have them press it, then that feels like.
Now this dialogue, though. Anyway. Hey, Joker, change the picture. I don't like this channel. Anyway, yeah, but it's nothing really.
It's not bad. It's a tiny inconsequential puzzle.
No, I mean, it's the same sort of thing that we saw in the third dungeon as well. At least they're giving us actual puzzles.
Yeah.
Rather than just, hey, Joker,
the adult
go
seems
over
to be
there and
reading
tell
something
me
to a crying child. Yeah, that's the transcript of Persona 5. I said that before this I was like, I want
it's
that.
still good.
Yeah.
I mean, the children would probably get the most out of this game. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I assume that this is not literally what happened because that would be absurd. But then again, this is Persona 5. So I don't know. 5, yeah. Oh no, we're talking about Suicide Note. Okay, 4. Fine, -1. There's no way that's how that went down, Ryuji. You know we're in the world of the mind, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly like, okay, that's what she thinks happens, and she's clearly got some.
I hope. I guess I haven't actually, fully finished the dungeon. We've just gotten to the point where we're going to be sending out the card.
It's possible. I think that's more of a delusion that someone is implanting from the MedJed team. Or whatever the fuck.
I mean, that's a comment about opening a door. Let's just say, yes.
Let's count it.
As it turns out, we are making progress in the dungeon. So let's say 4 there.